Hey everyone, Mike Mulligan here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am a certified orientation mobility specialist, and today I'm going to be talking about the fourth point of the 5-point travel system. So for those of you who aren't sure what the 5-point travel system is, I definitely recommend going back and taking a look at my previous videos. There's one of an introduction to the 5-point travel system, and then there's also videos for the first three points of the 5-point travel system. So I definitely recommend going back and taking a look at those. And today I'm going to be talking about the fourth point of the 5-point travel system, which is using landmarks for orientation. So in orientation mobility, we use the term landmark quite a bit. And today I just want to kind of go over what that is and how using landmarks can be a useful tool to become truly an independent traveler. So the first question I'd like to answer is, what is a landmark? So in orientation mobility, there are certain characteristics that an object needs to have to be considered a landmark. So one thing I want to note with landmarks, they can be tactile, they can be audible, they can be visual. So there's different set characteristics that fall under those three that can make something a landmark. So the first thing to consider with an object for it to be a landmark is it permanent and fixed? And what I mean by that is it set in one location and not easily moved. So something that's permanent and fixed can be, say, a telephone pole, a doorway to a building, stop sign. There's really so many options out there of something that's permanent and fixed. Something that's not permanent and fixed might be a trash can that rolls around or some patio furniture. So that would not make good landmarks. Another thing to consider with a landmark or characteristic that it needs to be something that's easily identifiable. You don't want it to be something that's hard to recognize or hard to find. You want it to be easily located as well as easily distinguished of what it is. So I'd like to give you a few examples of some objects that would be considered landmarks. And these are just things that come to the top of my head. Like I mentioned earlier, say a telephone pole or a stop sign. Buildings could be a landmark, railings up to a building, even driveways can be a landmark. So there's so many different options out there. And another thing I want to note is that a landmark for one person might not be the same landmark another person uses even on that same route. So someone might travel a certain route and use, say, a telephone pole as a landmark, but then another person travels that same route and then uses a stop sign as a landmark. So it's really a subjective experience as well, finding which landmark works best for each person. So establishing landmarks is a really good orientation tool because having a landmark confirms to someone where they're at in their environment. So if you don't have a landmark, it can be really difficult to know exactly where you are in your environment. So having some set landmarks is really a useful tool. And there's several ways you can do this, but it's good to find an object that meets the characteristics I mentioned before. And it's also good to explore the surrounding area to confirm that landmark. So if there's something else unique next to that landmark, that can be a really good way of confirming you're at the right landmark. So landmarks can be a really useful tool for orientation. I would definitely recommend spending some time to get used to using landmarks. Most people are probably doing this already in some shape or form, but having some time to practice using landmarks can be a skill that's worth the time investment. So hopefully this video was helpful in learning a bit about landmarks. I know there's a lot to this and I didn't cover everything, but this is just kind of a good introduction to landmarks. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye.